And now it's time for Focus, and today we're heading to Pakistan to meet a woman who's taken the rare step of taking the men she accuses of rape to court. Her name is Kainat Soomro, and 9 years ago, when she was 13 years old, she was allegedly kidnapped and gang raped. 3 years later, the accused rapists were acquitted. But Kainat's legal battle isn't over, this despite the difficulties of being an outcast in her village. From Karachi, Taha Siddiqui reports.
From her window, Kainat looks out at the hustle and bustle of the city. Ever since she took refuge in Karachi a decade ago, she has rarely left the house. She was 13 when she first came here.
I was on my way back from the school when I stopped at a shop to buy some stuff for my niece. There were 3 men in the shop. I asked one of them to show me the merchandise. When I was checking it out, one of them threw something on my face which made me unconscious. They then abused me, raped me.
After 3 days of captivity, Kainat escaped. When she got home, she recounted her ordeal to her father. He promptly went to the police, but they refused to register a case. 9 days later, the police reluctantly got involved after the courts intervened. The elders in her village were protecting the rapists and wanted her father to accept a monetary settlement.
All the feudal lords, elders, influential people, gangsters in my village joined hands together. They told me to kill my daughter because she has dishonoured me and refused to acknowledge she was raped. They offered me money, but I refused and gathered the courage to fight back.
The young man in the photo is his son. He was killed under suspicious circumstances 6 years ago. The family accuses the rapists of having orchestrated the murder to pressurize the family. Despite such hardships, the accused were acquitted for lack of evidence in 2010. Currently, Kainat has appealed in the higher courts and is waiting for a hearing. In her hometown, no one wants to talk about what happened. We heard that her father was offered money and was told to kill her to restore his honor. Do you know about this?
I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't know anything. This is a dirty business.
Why?
It's dirty.
What do you mean dirty? While Kainat remains an outcast in her village, the accused continue to live comfortable lives. One of them runs a shop in the local bazaar. He accuses Kainat of fabricating the rape story.
It was all a drama. She fooled the media and everyone.
So that incident never happened. No one kidnapped her.
No, there was no kidnapping.
Did she not disappear for 3 days?
No, she left voluntarily to get married in another city.
Many rape cases don't even reach the courts, and when they do, observers feel they usually end in acquittals due to poor investigation.
A lot of that has to do with the way our police investigations are conducted. For instance, whether DNA is admissible or not is still under debate. Primarily, they come up against, the misogyny of the police. Half the time, the cases are thrown out by the judges because the investigation is not right.
As in Kainat's case, victims of abuse often face stigma by their own communities. In Karachi, this shelter home welcomes such women. It currently houses 40 women whose families have refused to help them.
Such shelters are very important in Pakistani society, which is based on patriarchy. When a woman is wronged, even if she stands up against a man, no one supports her. This is why shelters like this are necessary, to help such women.
Residents learn to read and write. Some also get vocational trainings. Children can also accompany their mothers, like this 15-year-old's baby. He was born out of incest.
My father used to do bad things to me. I told my mother, but she refused to acknowledge it.
Does your mother know you have a child now?
Yes, she knows, but she doesn't want to help me. She doesn't even talk to me.
With the help of the NGO, the girl filed a case against her father, who is now in jail. But her mother has refused to take her back home. Shelters like this are rare. Only 4 in Karachi, a city of 20 million.
For more on this, I'm now joined in the studio by Michele Kota from the International Federation for Human Rights. Hello, thank you very much indeed for coming in. As we saw in that report, it's rare for a woman who accuses people of raping her to actually take the matter to court. Often she comes under pressure to settle the matter outside of court and just to accept a certain amount of money. Why is that?
First of all, societal pressure. Right away, technically, typically in Pakistani society, a really patriarchal culture, women are not believed right away. Women are seen as the property of men, of their husbands or their fathers. And so if they're coming forward to accuse a man of violence, of sexual violence, they're often not believed. So there's an entire stigma around that of I'm not going to be believed anyway, so I better not come forward. If they do decide to come forward anyway, the idea of matters relating to domestic violence or sexuality are seen as private matters that should be dealt with in the home. And so therefore going to the police is often frowned upon as well, and women are shamed by doing that. And if they do go forward to the police, despite all of these societal pressures, they face police that are not well trained, that discriminate women as well. Then if they do, in fact, overcome that hurdle and do go forward with a legal case, they face a judiciary that is very underrepresented in terms of female prosecutors and female lawyers, a judiciary that is not trained in women's rights and that often discriminates against women as well.
And so for those who do go as far as taking the matter to court, what does the law say in terms of protecting women? Because we saw that in that particular case of the woman who was 13, when she was allegedly gang raped, the men were acquitted.
Correct. The law in itself, actually, we've seen quite a bit of progress in terms of legislation in Pakistan with regards to the rights of women and protecting women against violence. FIDH's member organization in Pakistan, the Human Rights Commission of Pakistan, has been one of many NGOs advocating for changes to the legislation. The most recent one we saw was actually adopted in February of this year, which is a bill in the state, or the province, of Punjab, to protect women from violence. So on paper, the law, we have seen quite a bit of progress, both criminalizing violence of many types against women and also in establishing women's police stations, different types of mechanisms to make it potentially easier for women to access justice. The problem is the implementation of these laws. Either they're not well known at the level of the community, so women don't know their own rights. Police officers themselves don't know the rights of the women coming to speak to them. And as I mentioned before, at the police level, at the judiciary level, even at the prosecutorial level, you see a lot of discrimination culturally still against women.
And so you were saying there aren't very many women in the legal profession. If there were more women in the justice system, more female prosecutors, more female lawmakers, do you think that would make a big difference if they were better represented across the country and in all professions?
Absolutely. We've seen a very big challenge to the representation of women, be it as lawyers or judges or as members of the National Assembly. There's less than 10% of women in the National Assembly of Pakistan. And that absolutely has an impact on a culture that traditionally looks down upon women. Having women in the positions of power, in the positions to make decisions, ensures at least some representation for the rights and the perspectives of women.
And what about religion in Pakistan? We were reporting today on protests, people demonstrating against the execution of a man who murdered a governor who criticized blasphemy laws. And it really is a very big issue in Pakistan, a very emotive issue. So just how much does religion have to do with all of this, the way women are treated?
Religion plays an enormous role in Pakistan and Pakistani politics, as well as society. I mentioned it's traditionally quite patriarchal, and of course, certain religions play a stronger role in promoting that patriarchy. Whereas the role of women, we really see it in every type of religion in Pakistan. It's not just Islam, but throughout. We are, however, concerned at the role of clerics and extremist or fundamentalist Islamic groups that are promoting discriminatory laws and policies against women in Pakistan.
And what do you make of the shelters we saw in the report? Is that really the answer? Because are they not just shut off from society when they go to a shelter? They're probably better looked after than in a village where they'd be ostracized, but still.
Right. I think the shelters are extremely important at this point, certainly to deal with women who have now survived the violence. It's an immediate answer to immediate needs of survivors. We do have to think long term, you're right. It's not about isolating women who have suffered violence. It's about changing the legislation. It's about training individuals, and it's about getting women to have important decision-making roles in order to influence society as a whole. But for now, the role of civil society, the role of NGOs, such as shelters like that, it's absolutely important.
Okay, thank you very much, Michele, Kissin, Kota from the International Federation of Human Rights for coming in for today's focus. Thank you